What's up YouTube, this is Fate, bringing you another deck profile, and today I'm going to be showing off my new TG Nekroz build. It's a fun build that combines some of the lower support of the Nekroz on top of the fun support of the TG. It's one of my more favorite archetypes, so gotta give it up for the TGs through all these years. And the basic inspiration for coming back to a build like TG's and spice them with Nekroz? Two reasons. Nekroz has Trishula. In my old TG build, I ran a lot of Trishula before it got banned for the first time, so I wanted to create a fun build where I can launch both Trishulas at my opponent on a consistent basis and dominate the field that way. So without further ado, let's get to the deck profile. To start out, we've got the basic TG engine, triple Striker, triple Warwolf, and triple TG Rush Rhino. Most of the times when you go after your initial Trishula play, you'll be Special Summon Striker with the Cyber Dragon effect, Special Summon Warwolf in response to Striker, Normal Summon Rush Rhino, Instant Trishula. And the way these guys search out for each other, it's very easy to get these all three of these in your hand late game. And then just to add an interesting twist with this build, I also run double TG Cyber Magician. It creates an interesting new dynamic with the build, just like my old version, being a level 1 tuner itself, and the fact that it has its own search effect, just like all of the other TGs, as well as some evil combos that I will get to later on in the build. That's it for the TG engine. Onto the Necro/Ritual engine. Gotta run 3 of these guys. Manju of 10,000 hands. It's pretty much your ritual piece searcher. And I run one Shurit, Strategist of the Nekroz. Very good search ability after he's traded off for a ritual summon. Helps facilitate a lot of your late game plays or early game plays. And it's just a good combo piece with this build. And for the Nekroz, all I run is these 3 guys. Double Colossus for the spell search, and when he gets on the field, he helps lock down some special summon effects. Double Unicorn for being beat sick and having access to my Herald of Arc-like plays. And double Nekroz of Trishula himself. Trishula number 1 in this build. And the way the splicer works, these are only the 3 guys that you need with this build. Decided to go for more of the budget aspect with this build, and I'm really glad I did. Otherwise, you do end up getting too much of the Nekroz strategy if you add any more into it, and it takes away from the fast TG plays accompany with it. It's just a really good balance just running 6 of these guys in. Again, all you really need for a budget fun build like this. That can deal with a lot of heavy havoc with double Trishula. That's it for the monsters. Onto the spells. I only run 4 Nekroz ritual spells, 2 Kaleidoscope, 1 Mirror, and 1 Cycle. Kaleidoscope is the one that you're probably going to be searching to more first to get to your Herald of Arc-like plays with your Nekroz of Unicorn. But otherwise, for the Trishula plays and late game plays, I decided to run 1 of each of these guys because there are different scenarios that beckon for one or the other. And when I tested 2 of Mirror or 2 of Cycle, it did not end up going my way when I needed the other one in those specific scenarios. So having 1 of each is definitely really good for the build. And for the remainder of the spells, you run triple Reinforcement of the Army. You've got targets on your TG Striker, your Shurit, and your Colossus to then go ahead and search for more ritual spells. Very well useful in this build. And for the other support spells, got double MST, 1 Soul Charge, and 1 Raigeki. That's it for the spells, and on to the traps. How the Nekroz spells kind of dominate the spell lineup. The TGs will dominate the trap lineup, and what I mean by that is I run triple TG EM1 field, which is a really great creature swap class card for this build. Basically, if you don't know what it does, you can target 1 TG monster you control and 1 monster your opponent controls, and just switch them that way. It creates a lot of lopsided field advantages after your opponent brings out their big guy. And it's the other reason why I like running 2 TG Cyber Magicians in this build, not to have the couple extra names, but it really puts your opponent in the bind when they're stuck with a 0 attack monster on their side of the field. You destroy it for max damage, and you get to search that end phase. And to accompany the TG EM1s, I also run 2 TGX3DX2s. And basically all you need to know about this card is it's TG Pot of Avarice. For the most part. Instead of return 5 cards, you return 3 cards, and you get the double draw. It just cycles the TG plays to no end. And then for the other two, or other last remaining 3 supporter traps, we run double Call of the Haunted. Mainly to chain with your TG guys, since you can't, unfortunately, get your Nekroz guys with Call of the Haunted. Works insanely well with TGs. If they have an MST on board, chain Call of the Haunted, TG monster gets destroyed along with Call of the Haunted, and you get the search during end phase. And then for the remaining supporter trap, I run 1 Jar of Avarice. Just as a general recycle for everything in your build, just because you run a minimum amount of Nekroz resources, you will burn through them quickly in this build. And Jar of Avarice just helps you facilitate those late game plays or those advantage plays that you'll need mid game. That is it for the main deck. On to the extra deck. We've got the solo copy of Herald of Arclight. Never really needed more than 1 of these in the build, especially when you only run 2 Kaleidoscope and it adds into a late game state. But anytime you do end up need to run into it, Jar of Avarice is usually there for that. And for the level 5s, I've got 1 Armades. And since we were running a heavy TG Synchro engine, I run double TG Wonder Magician, which usually is basically another MST in its own right, helps clear the board for your Trishula plays, and when it's destroyed, you get an extra draw off it, which is very nice. That, and it's a tuner that can synchro summon on your opponent's main phase, just like Formula Synchron, so it's fun when your opponent does not see that coming. For the 2 level 6s, I run 1 Naturia Barkion in case I run into TG Striker and Rush Rhino. Very nice to get out Barkion. And then 1 Goryeo Guardian because Goryeo Guardian max attack, why not? And for the other Synchro monsters, I've got 1 Black Rose for board clearer, 1 of each of the different Stardusts for the variety of the game, and 1 Scrap Dragon to round out the level 8s. And the 1 Star Eater in case I do run into that play. It's very interesting to have this guy's resourcefulness, especially when you go up against Cleave Towers. Because Nekroz of Trishula is a level 9 monster, Striker's a level 2 monster as a tuner. Do the math, Star Eater, there's your towers out. And for the level 9 Synchros, gotta give it up for the Trishula himself, very easy to get out in this build. And I also run 1 Mistworm. Because there are those really off scenarios where you can't banish cards, and it's a lot more potent to return them instead. Also a really good way to get around something like Imperial Iron Wall for those scenarios. And the other reason why is Mistworm is basically fodder for Kaleidoscope and your Nekroz of Trishula. And then for the side monsters, we've got Daigusto Emerald to help facilitate more of the recycle plays with Herald of Arclight and Friends. And then we run 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. Now why, if all of this crazy stuff, 1 Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon? Here's the exact scenario for you. You've got Kaleidoscope in hand, and you've got 1 Colossus, 1 Trishula, and you want to bring them both out. It is a very easy way to get both these monsters out, it's just have the Blue Eyes Ultimate in here. And the other reason why specifically Blue Eyes Ultimate is he's one of those rare high-level fusion monsters that doesn't have the claws that he can't come... that basically he can be revived by Call of the Haunted is what I'm trying to get at. And because he's also has no effect, he's a very vicious attacker when you get into those type of scenarios. Just because your opponent cannot counter with Breakthrough Skill, Fiendish Chain, or all of those normal combos, and they usually do not have the out to the 4500 attack right off the bat. And with that, that is my TG Nekroz build. Hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, comment, rate, and subscribe. And until next time.